apologies for the delay, everyone. I did announce I would be going live in a few minutes, and we had a little technical glitch with my microphone, which all this time was working and all of a sudden decided not to work. So apologies for that. I hope you can hear me clearly, Eric.
I can hear you
Okay,
now.
brilliant, brilliant. So today I'm going live. It's not my regular live. I decided to go live with a guest today. His name is Eric O'Neill. He used to work in the FBI. He's a cybersecurity expert, and he's an author of a book which recently come out to do with spies, lies, and quite exciting. The title is. The reason why I have him on today is because, as you know, as a lot of us will know, AWS yesterday had a huge outage and it affected several websites and platforms and apps. And I was greatly affected by it. I didn't realize just how many websites and applications and platforms use AWS until the outage happened yesterday. My mom couldn't use her Peloton. There was websites that I couldn't log into that were just down. Even Grain, the AI app that I use to record my meetings, that was down. There was a lot that was affected, which slowed down my productivity. And it does make you think, if the world is hinged on three main cloud platforms by Google, by Microsoft, by AWS, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And I want to talk to you, Eric, about that. First of all, is that a good thing? Do we need to have more diversification when it comes to cloud platforms? How safe is that?
Right. Well, it is putting all of our eggs in one basket, right? And we have three real major cloud providers, and many companies. And remember when AWS went down, and it went down just because of a DNS configuration error. So
Wow.
basically, think of DNS as kind of the GPS for the internet. If DNS fails, and that stands for domain name system, right? It's like a directory, and it translates human-friendly web addresses like my web address, ericoneil.net, into an IP address that computers can read and locate. So if DNS fails, these devices can't find the services they're trying to reach. You can't find me at my website. It just says, can't find it. Nothing happened.
Right.
My website still exists, but it's
Right.
like having a contact's name in your phone, right? But you lost the phone number. So you can see the contact's name, but you have no phone number. You have no way to reach them. And that's literally what happened. Well, figuratively, but kind of literally what happened to AWS. It was all still there, just nobody could point their devices to that cloud presence. And it caused chaos. 1,000 different companies around that many went down.
Wow.
And here in the U.S., we had our share. Like all the Ring cameras stopped working.
No way.
Snapchat, right? Not such a terrible thing. Reddit wasn't working. Roblox and Fortnite, two of the favorite games. My kids like those games. Those weren't working, and so on and so forth. People couldn't look at their Coinbase accounts. So this kind of thing, if it were extended to a long period, could cause chaos.
Seriously.
And that is a great way to attack critical infrastructure. And we need to see these cloud services, because there's three big ones, and all these companies use them as critical infrastructure globally, because they're used all over the world.
Yeah.
So that makes them a target for a cyber attack, not only from espionage attacks, say you want to cause harm to the West, for example, but cyber criminals who might try to launch an attack. And cyber criminals are getting ever more sophisticated. One of the big parts of my book is that cyber criminals are actually learning from spies. So we have to balance that sophistication between the two entities.
Wow. The Ring cameras part got me. I didn't realize they were affected as well. That'd be quite concerning if that was happening over a longer period of time, even just overnight. Can you think about people's not feeling secure if you're away on vacation and you've got a Ring camera protecting your home? Think about the potential, risks that could incur with that. So when it comes to business leaders, in general, and not just within the domain of cybersecurity, but ultimately we know that everyone has the responsibility to maintain cybersecurity, not just those who work directly in cybersecurity. So when it comes to business leaders, what steps should they take to mitigate potential risks like what happened yesterday? Do you think it's wise for them to consider other cloud providers, smaller, lesser known names, or is there a need for those lesser known names to become a bit more in the norm?
Well, we always want to build resilience into cybersecurity. Now, this DNS configuration error, I doubt it's going to happen again at AWS. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
that there couldn't be something similar that happens. There are glitches, and that computer systems have always been plagued by glitches and problems. Like, for example, look at what happened at CrowdStrike. They had an error in a patch that caused every computer that used that security software to reboot, and suddenly airlines couldn't fly. So these glitches can cause mayhem if services are widely adopted. I don't see a lot of companies moving away from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, who are the three big cloud service providers. Part of the reason is those those companies actually can provide better cybersecurity
Right.
than if you have an on-premises server and you don't have the people to maintain it and to protect it with very good cybersecurity. That said, there may be big companies who are looking to have some sort of backup resiliency that might be on-prem, or it might look at a backup for core and critical systems that would use like an AWS in a regional hub, for example.
Right.
And that way, if a big cloud provider goes down, then they can shift certain of their core websites and services over somewhere else. But that adds a massive layer of complexity. So essentially what I'm saying is we've kind of built this monster and we're stuck with it. And so
Right.
what I suggest is going to happen is we'll have a lot more internal resiliency, but we are going to have to continue to rely on the big three cloud services, and to an added extension others that are not quite so giant,
Yeah.
and hope that these sort of errors don't continue to happen.
So actually, this is coincidentally happening in Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's October. So I want to know from you, what are three things that employers, in talking about leaders as well as professionals at every level, can do to safeguard cybersecurity in their organization? Three
Right.
practical steps.
Well, that is really what you're getting into in my book, Spy Slice and Cybercrime. I deep dive into that. So I love to talk about it. For business leaders, some of the things that you would do for yourself to protect your own information, your own data, and I say data is now the currency of our lives, it's so critical, are the same
Yes.
things you would do for your enterprise. It's just a matter of scale. So you have to have good internet hygiene and practices. You need to make sure your employees are aware of all of the different ways that attackers are trying to scam and deceive them into opening the door to your data. Most attacks are not a computer that is used to somehow scan a network and brute force their way into another computer. Most attacks happen through social engineering of an employee. So your computer architecture needs to be able to capture that, which means that you're paying attention. Your employees are paying attention. They're being vigilant. But even if they are scammed, if, for example, they click on that thing they shouldn't or open that attachment they shouldn't, and suddenly their username and password are compromised, and now a external cyber attacker is using them as their spy, their mole in the system, unwittingly, to cause mayhem. You need to see that that has happened, that's changed, and that that account is doing things that it doesn't normally do. And that's what cybersecurity is moving to, this threat hunting rather than kind of a defensive posture. Seeing the attack as it happens, assuming the attack will land, and then quickly stopping it and then encapsulating it and finding out what damage was done and how you can quickly remediate that damage. And we call that resilience. So training your staff, having a good plan for your cybersecurity and what happens if there is an attack. And then, as I say in the book, you have to constantly assess your cybersecurity. You can't go to a vendor and install some things and say, oh, great, I'm done. You have to constantly be monitoring, constantly looking, constantly assessing. And this is why so many companies go to an AWS, because you can put that data in the cloud and hope that this external company is going to protect it. Generally, they do. This wasn't a cyber attack. It was just a glitch. A little glitch, but a glitch.
Right, thankfully. I love that you said that, because, I think that cybersecurity is one of those areas that we often underestimate or don't take too seriously, just regular professionals outside of tech. There's often this running joke, you'll see it a lot on LinkedIn or on Instagram, where that's the part of the initial onboarding training that we often try and skip, or we try and race through. And then you get that email that comes through and you unknowingly click on it thinking it's genuine. It actually came from the HR department when it didn't. And then it catches you out. And before you know it, you've potentially exposed yourself and your organization to risk. So what you're saying is this is way more important and we need to really be taking this seriously. It's everyone's responsibility, not just those within the tech field. And to regularly assess. And when you say regularly assess, like how often, how regular should that be?
Right. So assessment should happen anytime there is a change to your technology. Now, that could be a key person who suddenly has access, right? That could be a vendor that is now connected to your technology. There, you've changed your cybersecurity, and you need to make sure that you haven't opened the door to an external attack through, a company that isn't as strong as you are in cyber.
Got it. Right.
We recommend it. I do cybersecurity advisory. We recommend in at least every 6 months. But depending on the size of the company, the complexity of the company, and the threat of an external attack, if you're in healthcare, if you're in finances,
Right.
you're far more likely to be attacked by
That's high
a
risk.
large, sophisticated cybercrime gang who wants to lock you with ransomware than if you run a chain of car mechanic companies, right? So you need someone to come in, and an outside advisor, and this is part of what I do with the company. You come in and look at all of that and build something that fits to you. You never want someone to come in and say they have one size fits all, because that's just not the way cybersecurity works.
Right. I totally get it. And I think, obviously looking at the data when it comes to even looking at the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, when you see the cybersecurity industry as a whole, it's massively growing over the past few years. And the projections are crazy. You look at Statista, the statistics there. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
And when you look at the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, I was just writing today in Forbes that cybersecurity certifications are definitely high in demand. The BLS projects that cybersecurity roles will continue to surge by as much as 29% over the next 9 years, which is a crazy figure when you think about that's way higher than the average job growth rate. What's your take on that? And also, what are the certifications that are in demand right now?
Right. So let's unpack that. The reason that cybersecurity is one of the fastest growing businesses on earth is because the fastest growing business on earth right now is cybercrime.
Scams, right?
The cost of cybercrime moving through the dark web will reach $14 trillion this year, which is extraordinary. That is that's the gross domestic product of a country. That's actually, if it was a GDP, the third largest economy on earth after the US and China. And growing, and continues to grow. And law enforcement can't arrest it or stop it. There are legions of individuals all over the world who are joining cybercrime, many of them in countries that have no extradition to, for example, the UK or Australia or the US, or countries who take a hard stance on cybercrime. And so it's going to continue to grow. And that means that each and every one of us has to take responsibility for our own security, which is why you see such a need for individuals who are adept and trained and able to sort of man the defenses and fight the fight. What I say in my book is we need spy hunters. And actually, anyone who reads the book, you come out at a spy hunter. You're trained through these really cool true crime stories. I mean, the book is a true crime story. What I would say, if you're looking to get into cybersecurity, if you're looking for those certifications, you want to be able to do threat intelligence and threat hunting. That's really the holy grail, the ability to look in a data set and see the anomalies and determine that, yes, there's a breach, one, and two, here's where that person landed, here's where they moved, and this was the point that they landed. So we know where we need to restore from backup. We know what they compromised. We know what they stole, what we call exfiltrated, right, in spy talk. And that way we can limit the damage and exposure to the company. That's critical, because if you have someone who breached and accessed your data and you can't tell what they stole, you just know they stole things, right? Now you're responsible for potentially everything. And now you have to do identity monitoring for everyone. And now you have to do disclosures, and your lawyers will be screaming in your ear. So you want to ensure that you can always minimize the damage of an attack and also be resilient in coming back as fast as possible so you don't have significant downtime, which
Of
costs
course.
you at the bottom line. Right.
Yes.
And so that's why the world needs more cybersecurity threat hunters.
Right. So when it comes to certifications, where do you think a professional should start? Let's say, they're hearing this for the first time, they're interested in pursuing a career in this field. Where should they start and how can they progress in their career with different certifications within this field?
Right. Well, there are a number of different places you can go for certifications like SANS or different computer companies, and you can just look online. Part of what I've found is that most of the people that come and talk to me, they're actually looking at a cybersecurity company and learning the kind of certifications they need. Sometimes if you're going to go to a company and you're targeting one, you might want to take a course in their software, right? To be able to pilot it, to show that you can do that, because then it gets deployed to other companies and you want to be able to train others on it.
Of course, absolutely. I agree with that. And when it comes to things like ethical hacking, that's one of the topics that keeps coming up. Do you think that's very much like an in-demand skill when it comes to over the next few years, looking ahead to the next 3, 5 years? How do you see that playing its role when it comes to upskilling with cybersecurity?
Certainly, ethical hacking or red teaming, or sometimes called bug bounties, right?
Right.
Companies will pay those, and there are people who are sort of freelance who will try to, beat a company and say, okay, this is how I got in, and here's what you need to correct. That's very important. That is proving your resiliency, finding the holes, and that allows you to avoid the trap, the fire that could be set all around you before the pressure situation of a cyber attack, because a friendly has just pointed out that you've got a gaping hole. Now let's fix it up.
Right.
So those are certainly those ethical hackers. I'll take it one step further. I think we need more offensive cyber attackers. I know that in the United States, our military and our cyber command is staffing up for this.
Okay.
We need to be able to strike back if, for example, there was a critical infrastructure attack on the homeland. And I would rather see that as a counter cyber attack than any kind of kinetic attack that could lead to World War III.
Right. Yeah. I think really the message you're giving here is it's better to build that resilience. You have to have a lot of foresight, planning ahead, thinking ahead, planning that risk management and mitigation in advance. And then when the attacks happen, thinking about lessons learned, okay, really studying it as it occurs so that you don't get a repeat or something worse later on down the line. I think that's what you're saying. And I think just to close out this segment, what do you think about the role of AI in all of this? Because obviously AI is all over the place. There's AI tools for this, AI tools for that,
Yes.
AI tools for cybersecurity as well. What role does AI play in this? And also, does AI in itself pose more risk because it's heavily data-based? And does that give us another set of problems?
Yeah, AI has changed the entire world of cybercrime and cybersecurity. I spend chapters in my book about how AI has changed us, how AI is used for impersonation attacks, confidence scheme attacks, how AI is helping cyber criminals build new and novel malicious code. It's helping them create email phishing attacks that have crisp logos and perfect
Oh,
spelling and great
wow.
grammar, and it makes it a lot easier to deceive your target when
Wow.
AI is your helping hand. Now, on the other side, cybersecurity companies are deploying AI to do a lot of the analytics far faster than a human can do, and do a lot of the work for humans. And it's very tongue-in-cheek, but I like to describe what's happening in the world of cyberspace, kind of like the 1980s version of the movie Tron, right? Where you had the good programs fighting the bad programs. But in a sense, that's what's happening right now. And cybersecurity is fighting dark web cyber criminal AI for the rights to our data. And we're really
Wow.
hoping that those of us on the side of cyber win.
Yes, well, we will. And last but not least, your book. Give us the name of your book and where can someone find it, purchase a copy?
Certainly, it's Spies, Lies, and Cybercrime. It's available wherever books are sold. You can get it right on my website at www.ericoneal.net. I also, if you liked my voice, I do the Audible version, and it's available on Kindle. And it's a true crime story, a series of true crime stories that will teach you all of the ways that cyber attackers are coming after us and the skills you need to keep them from scamming you and stealing your information.
You know what, before we leave, I gotta say, I love that approach. You said true crime stories. And funny enough, today, well, over the past few days, I've been doing a lot of research about storytelling when it comes to leadership. So I love that you used a story angle to convey this concept, because a lot of times people get bored by reading a plain, simple book with just raw facts, figures, data. You used crime stories to illustrate your point. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. And I think
Well,
a lot
I'm a
of
stage
leaders.
speaker. I'm a keynote speaker who
Right.
became an author, and I teach people lessons through storytelling.
There you
So
go.
there's a through story in the book that is a cyber attack on a company that I was advising, and I was in the center of the storm. And that
Right.
carries you through the whole book. And then what I do is I use the first part of the book. I break down all the ways that criminals are attacking us into 6 buckets.
Okay.
Deception, impersonation, infiltration, confidence schemes, exploitation, and destruction. And then teach you how to beat all of those different ways of attacking us, all through storytelling. So people have
Amazing.
read the book in a weekend.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure they wouldn't have done that if it was pure facts and figures.
No. Most cybersecurity books are very boring. This is a very
Yeah,
different kind of book. It reads
exactly.
like a spy thriller. And in fact, some
Wow.
spy thriller writers have endorsed it and said it reads exactly like a spy thriller.
Really? Wow. Congratulations on your book, for sure, for
Thank
sure.
you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for jumping on this call today. I know you already had 3 calls today, and I'm sure you've got a lot more going on. So you take care, guys, and check in with me tomorrow for my next live video, where we will be tackling all the latest happenings in AI, leadership, and the future of work. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Rachel.
All right. Bye-bye.